Hey guys, this is Atul from IELTS Online Practice. It's another sunny day here in Sydney, and I wanted to go over some of the skills for writing task 2 with you. Just before we get started, here's my website, IELTSOnlinePractice.com, and there's a lot of free material on the website. So if you are preparing for IELTS right now, just go in there, click on IELTS 2020 course. The entire course is absolutely free. There are tutorials here for each section of IELTS, whether you're taking the academic IELTS or the general IELTS. There's a writing section, reading, speaking, listening, and there are recent IELTS exam topics. If you want model answers, if you're looking for model answers for writing task 1 or 2, just go on the model answer section, and there are hundreds of topics here which have answers for IELTS band 8 and 9 essays and writing task 1. Finally, if you want to have a look at the recent IELTS exam topics, then just click on recent IELTS topic exams here, and it'll bring you to this section which has exam topics shared by students from all over the world, and you can just go in, read about all the exam topics that have been shared by our students. And finally, if you want corrections for your writing and speaking tasks, just join one of the course options here. We've got single task options where you can submit one writing task or one speaking task, and it'll be marked for you and with a band score and suggestions on how you can improve, just for $5. If you want more detailed feedback, ongoing feedback for unlimited tasks, just sign up for either the 1 week, 2 week, or the 1 month course option. There's also a free IELTS level check here, so you can test out what your current level for IELTS is. Just get started with it. It's a 10 question quiz. It takes 5 minutes, and you know what sort of band score you would get at your current level. So with that, let's get started with today's lesson. And it's all about the writing task 2. As you know, in writing task 2, there are different essay types. There are only 4 essay types in IELTS. So once you know these essay types, you would be able to prepare for them much better. And once you know how to prepare for them, you'll be able to boost your band score in each of those 4 essay types. So let's have a look at what essay types there are in IELTS writing. So I mentioned 4, there are actually 5 essay types. These 5 categories of questions are as follows. As you can see, does that look like English? Actually not, it's an anagram. So what's an anagram? Anagram is when you jumble up the letters of the words so that they look very different. But if you rearrange these words in the proper order, they'll give you the answers for the 5 categories of questions that are there in IELTS exam. So I'll give you just a minute to have a look at these 5 different types of questions and guess what these might be. So if you look at all of them, let's have a look if you got the right answers. So the first type of question is direct question. It's a direct question, and we'll have a look at each one of them in detail in the next few slides. But the first one is direct question. The second one is advantages and disadvantages. The third type of question is an opinion essay, where they ask you your opinion, whether you agree, disagree, or what. The next one is a discussion essay, where they say discuss both sides of the equation, discuss both sides of the question. And finally, it's a solution question. It's also called as a problem solution question, where they say what are the reasons for this problem and what are the solutions for this problem. So those are the 5 types of essays. Now let's just have a quick look at different questions, and let's try and see which type they fall into, which category they fall into. So have a look at this essay. These days, a great deal of money is spent on protecting endangered species, such as giant pandas, rhinos, or tigers. It has been suggested that this money could be better spent looking after poorer or unhealthy humans. What do you think? So what do you think? Which category does this question fall into? If you said opinion essay, you are correct because it's asking you for your opinion. It's saying, what do you think, right? It's saying, do you agree or disagree? It's asking for your opinion, right? So that's an opinion essay. Let's look at another question. Some people believe that physical fitness is the key to being healthy. Others say that emotional and mental health are far more important. Discuss both sides of the argument. What do you think this would be? The hint to understanding which type of question it is the last line. You should just read the last line which says discuss both sides of the argument. So that should tell you that it's a discussion question. It's asking you to discuss both sides of the argument. When it's a discussion question, you need to write about both sides of the argument. You have to write equally about both sides of the argument. If you write only about one side, then you have not achieved the task. You have failed in the task achievement section of the question. So you have to discuss both sides. Let's look at another one. The development of nuclear weapons in the 1940s has actually made the world a safer place, where war is less likely. To what extent do you agree? Again, what do you think this would be? It's an opinion because it's asking you to what extent do you agree. So do you see the language now? In the first one it says, what do you think? Now it's saying, to what extent do you agree? It can even say, do you agree or disagree? So whenever it asks you your opinion, it's an opinion essay. And in this case, in an opinion essay, you can write a very one-sided answer if you want to. For example, if you completely agree with this, if you strongly agree with this, that war is less likely now because nuclear weapons have made the world a safer place, absolutely write the entire essay about it. You can say, I strongly believe that this is true, and the first paragraph can be again about how the world has become a safer place because of nuclear weapons. The second paragraph can be about evidence of how there hasn't been a war since World War II, a major war between all countries since World War II, and so on. You can write the entire essay as a one-sided essay. You don't have to say, no, the world is not a safer place. By the way, it is a safer place. So you don't have to balance your opinions here. You can have a completely one-sided opinion. And especially when the question says, to what extent do you agree? You have to also mention the extent of your agreement. So you have to say, I strongly agree, or I strongly disagree, or I partially agree, for example. Let's look at another one. Thanks to changes in technology and employment patterns, more people work from home than in the past. What are the benefits and drawbacks of working from home? Now, in this case, the last line, what are the benefits and drawbacks? That should be a dead ringer, right? I mean, it should just give away the type of essay here. It's an advantage and disadvantage question because it's asking you for benefits and drawbacks. And there it is. It is an advantage and disadvantage essay. So here you have to again discuss advantages as well as disadvantages. If you discuss only the advantages or only the disadvantages, then you've not achieved you've not answered the question completely. Let's look at another one. In major cities, especially in developing countries, air quality is now a serious problem, leading to major health issues and early deaths. What are the causes of poor quality of air in urban areas? What strategies should governments adopt to deal with this issue? Now here, it's not directly asking you for your opinion. It's not even asking you to discuss both sides of the argument. It's not asking you advantages, disadvantages. What is it asking you for? If you look closely again, it says, what are the causes of poor air quality? What strategies should the government adopt? What does it look like to you? It looks like a problem and solution essay. It's asking you the causes of this problem and the solutions for that problem, right? So it's a problem solution essay. These are again very common in IELTS. So here you write one paragraph about the problem, one paragraph about the solution. Let's look at another one. Painting, sculpture, and other art forms have played a fundamental role in our society for centuries. Do these forms of expression still have a role in our modern technological world? Should children be taught these skills? Now, this is again looks like a different type of essay because it does not ask you for problem solutions. It does not ask you for advantages, disadvantages. What do you think this is? It's a direct question. So in a direct question, the questions can be, there can be just one question, or there can be two questions, or there can be three questions. So in this case, in this type of question, you need to write a paragraph about each question, addressing each direct question. So in this case, you'll write one paragraph about do these forms of expression, which is do painting, sculptures, and other art forms still have a role in our modern technological world? So that should be one paragraph. Another paragraph should be, should children be taught these skills? So if you don't write about any of these direct questions, you will lose marks for task achievement. Let's look at another one. Global warming is now generally agreed to be a very serious problem. What are the causes of global warming and what should governments do to reduce it? Again, in this case, it's easy to identify this question now. Once you've done it for 5 or 6 questions, it gets quite easy because it says causes and what should the government do to reduce it. Looks like it's asking for solutions, right? So it's a problem solution essay. So you basically have to give problems, the causes of global warming and the solutions of how governments can reduce it. Many people believe that a rich person is a successful person. Is wealth a good indicator of success? What other measures should we use to assess whether a person is successful in life? What do you think? So in this case, again, there are no advantages, disadvantages, there are no problem solutions. It looks like a direct question to me. And there it is. So there are two direct questions. Is wealth a good indicator of success? And what other measures should be used to assess whether a person is successful in life? And you have to write about both of them. Many economically developed countries give economic support to poorer regions. Although there may be benefits, some critics say that this policy does more harm than good. Discuss both sides of this argument. So, it's giving a claim statement first, saying that many economically developed countries give economic support to poorer regions. There may be some benefits, but then it also does more. But some critics say that this policy does more harm than good. So you have to discuss both sides of the argument. So this is basically a discussion question because it's asking you to discuss both sides. So you have to write about both sides of the argument. You can't just take one side of the argument and write just about that. You have to write about both sides. Let's look at another one. It has often been said that not allowing cars to enter city centers would be an extremely positive step. What would be the positive and negative consequences of such a policy? Now, we saw that once you have seen a lot of essays, you start to understand the language of the questions. So this, if you have already guessed, it is an advantage and disadvantage essay. But it may not have the words advantages and disadvantages in it. So we've seen a few different versions of this essay type. One of them, the earlier one, had the words advantages and disadvantages in it. Another one had benefits and drawbacks in it. This one has what would be the positive and negative consequences. So it's again asking you positive and negative consequences, which is the same as saying what are the advantages and disadvantages, or as saying what are the drawbacks, benefits and drawbacks. So again, when you answer these questions, you can actually use these synonyms in your introduction paragraph, because the more synonyms you use to paraphrase the question, the better your score gets. So in this case, instead of repeating the words from the question saying there are many positive and negative consequences of such a policy, you could actually say there are many advantages and disadvantages of this policy, or you can say there are many benefits and drawbacks of this policy. So now, once we have gone through all these types of essays, let's look at some advice for each of these essays. And instead of just giving you the advice, what I would like to do is give you an advice and then ask whether it's a good advice or a bad advice. So some of these things, some of the things which I'll show you now, they will definitely boost your score. But some of the advice that I give you here might actually harm your score. So let's identify which of the things which I'm going to show you are good and which of them are bad. And if you can, just guess before I give you the answer. So is this a good advice or a bad advice? In opinion essay, you should definitely include your opinion at the end of the introduction. So now if you remember what an opinion essay was, an opinion essay was where the question says, do you agree? Or do you agree or disagree? Or to what extent do you agree or disagree? Or what do you think? Those are the kind of essays which are all opinion essays. So in this kind of an essay, is it good? Is it useful if you definitely include your opinion at the end of the introduction? So right in the introduction paragraph, should you say I definitely agree, or I strongly agree, or I agree, or I disagree? Should you say that or not? Let's look at the answer. Yes, you should. Absolutely you should. So as soon as you can give your opinion in the essay, you should do that. So if it's an opinion essay, right away, bam, give your opinion in the first paragraph. Don't wait till the end. Give your opinion and then try to defend that opinion throughout the essay. So it was a good advice. Let's look at another one. In the main part of the opinion essay, you should have 2 or 3 paragraphs which support your thesis. So if you have been asked about, say, global warming is harming the environment, do you agree or disagree? Now if that's the question, should you have 2 or 3 paragraphs which support your thesis? And if at the start of the introduction you give your opinion as yes, global warming is harming the environment, should the rest of your essay support your thesis, or should you also write against it? So in this case, it says you should write 2 or 3 paragraphs which support your thesis, and that's a good advice. Because remember, in an opinion essay, you can take a one-sided opinion. You can write the entire essay supporting your thesis. You don't have to write about the other side of the argument if you don't agree with it. Only when in a discussion essay which says write about both sides of the argument, that's when you have to discuss the other side, whether or not you agree with it. But in an opinion essay, you can write the entire essay with 2 or 3 body paragraphs supporting your thesis. So that's good advice. Let's look at another one. It is really important that your opinion essay is consistent. That means that your arguments need to support your opinions. What do you think? Is this good advice or bad advice? That all your arguments and your examples should support your opinion, and your opinion should be consistent throughout the essay. Of course, this is good advice. But you'll be surprised how many essays I've seen where the candidate starts with, I agree with this opinion, and then they write the first paragraph, they write the second paragraph. In the second paragraph, the opinion somehow changes, and in the conclusion, they actually end up disagreeing with their own opinion that they started off with. Now, you might think that can never happen, but you'll be surprised how many essays I've seen where the opinion has been inconsistent. So if you take an opinion, it doesn't matter whether that opinion is technically correct or not, or factually correct or not. Once you take an opinion, be consistent with it and write all your arguments in support of your opinion. In a discussion essay, it is fine if you write a lot more about one opinion, one option, than about the second option. So in a discussion essay where it says discuss both sides of the argument, it is fine if you write more about one option than about the second option. Is this good advice or bad advice? This is actually a bad advice. You should try and write equally about both sides of the discussion essay. So if you've been asked to write to discuss both sides of a policy, then write one or two arguments and some supporting arguments for one side of the option, and write another two or three equally, write the same number of arguments and supporting arguments for the second option of the discussion essay. You should include your opinion in the introduction to a discussion question. So where you've been asked to discuss both sides of the argument or the topic, you should include your opinion right at the top in the introduction. What do you think? So for opinion essay, we had said that you should include your opinion right at the top. But for a discussion essay, does the same advice hold good? No. For a discussion essay, you should have your opinion, try and have your opinion at the end of the essay. So in your conclusion, not right at the top, because you have been asked to discuss both sides of the argument or the topic. So in the introduction, just say, I will be discussing both sides of the argument, and then write one paragraph about one side, write another paragraph about another side, and then in the conclusion, try and give your opinion. In a direct question, which usually has two parts, you should usually put your opinion in the introduction. Now, what do you think in this one? Where should you put your opinion in a direct question? Should you put it in the introduction? Yes, you can. Because again, in this case, you have been asked a direct question. So when it's a direct question, so when it could say, the direct question could say, do you think this is a good idea? Now, that question can be answered right in the introduction, because you have been asked that question. Just like the opinion, think about it as an opinion essay where you have been asked, do you agree or disagree, or what do you think? So whatever the question is, give the answer of that question right at the top. If it exclusively asks your opinion, give it in the introduction. If it does not ask for your opinion in the main question, then reserve that opinion till the end. In a solution question, it is very important that your solutions solve the specific issues or problems you have written about. What do you think? Should your... Hey, that seems to be an ambulance. In a solution question, it is very important that your solutions solve the specific issues or problems you have written about. So remember, the solutions question was, what are the causes of this problem and what solutions can you suggest? So if you identify certain causes, should you write about solutions for those specific issues, those specific causes, or should you write about solutions for different causes? That's what this one is saying. So in this case, it's saying you should write about the specific issues that you have identified as the causes, and that's a good advice. So once you identify the causes for, let's say, global warming, then the solutions that you suggest should somehow solve those problems that you have identified. You can't say that burning of wood is a problem because it causes a lot of smoke and releases carbon dioxide and different pollutants into the atmosphere. But then in the solution, you offer no solution for that problem of burning wood or coal, right? So your solutions should specifically target the problems that you've written about. In a solution essay, you should usually put all the issues or problems in one paragraph and all the solutions in another. Now that's a good one because some students have asked me this question. Should they put a problem solution combo in one paragraph and another problem solution combo in another paragraph, or should they separate out all the solutions in one and all the problems in one? So this is a good advice. You should write all the problems, all the causes in one paragraph and all the solutions in another paragraph. That way there's no right or wrong answer, but it's recommended that you do this way so that it's easy to link things together, and also each paragraph can have a clean topic sentence. So when I say topic sentence, it's the first sentence of your body paragraph. So when you separate out all the problems into one body paragraph, your topic sentence can be, there are a number of problems, there are a number of causes of this problem. Firstly, problem 1. Secondly, problem 2. Finally, and you can give supporting examples for those. So there's a nice topic sentence when you're starting that paragraph. Similarly, for the next paragraph, which deals with all the solutions, you can say, on the other hand, there are a number of solutions for these problems. And again, then you specify each of the solutions using some linking words like firstly, secondly, moreover. And so that gives a nice structure to your essay. So try and separate out all the problems in one paragraph and all the solutions in another. In an advantages and disadvantages essay, you should probably write about 3 advantages and 3 disadvantages. Well, what do you think? Should you write about 3 advantages and 3 disadvantages? Well, I think it's a bit too much if you write about 3 advantages and 3 disadvantages. Because remember, each of your advantages and disadvantages have to be supported with some relevant supporting arguments or examples. If you write 3 advantages and 3 disadvantages, that's a lot of arguments, supporting arguments, examples, and that would just bloat up your essay to 400 or 500 words. So it's much better to write about just maybe 2 advantages and 2 disadvantages. And that should fill up at least 300 words for your essay. In an advantages and disadvantages essay, it does not matter if you write about lots of advantages and only 1 disadvantage. Again, is this a good advice or bad advice? This is actually a bad advice, because when you have been asked about advantages and disadvantages, you must write equally about both of them. So rather than writing 3 advantages and 1 disadvantage, balance it out. Write 2 advantages, 2 disadvantages. So folks, that was the lesson for today, and I have a challenge for you. I will give you 4 topics and you have to classify them according to the categories that we spoke about today. And if you are feeling even more motivated, try and write down a plan for each of these essays. How would you structure your paragraphs? What sort of advantages, what sort of arguments would you write? What sort of examples would you write? You don't have to write the entire essay. You can just write a little bit of, take a few notes and do some brainstorming and just write about the basic points that you would be discussing in each paragraph, and add it to the comment section, and I'll have a look, and maybe I'll have put some comments and replies to some of your comments. And if you're feeling even more motivated, you can write your full-length essays and send it to me for correction. Just make sure you sign up for the IELTS 2020 course, one of the correction packages, before you do that, so that I can bump up your request and send it to you within 24 hours. So with that, that's it for today's lesson. Good luck with your IELTS preparation, and I'll see you soon. Have a good day. Bye.